in last night's Warriors Timberwolves game, Draymond Green applied a textbook rear naked choke on Rudy Gobert in the midst of a scuffle between Jaden McDaniels and Klay Thompson. Gobert comes in, tries to break it up, and Draymond sees an opportunity to do, honestly, it looked like it was something that he wanted to do. I mean, he just jumped in directly at Rudy's neck and pulls him off and gets ejected. Warriors lose another game. And we're going to talk about the Timberwolves a little bit today because they won their 7th straight last night. But the Draymond thing, it's tired. You know, it's old. You can't tell me it's intensity. This was 2 minutes into the game. And I thought Rudy Gobert kind of, and maybe this is a little bit of poking the bear, I don't know, but Rudy Gobert in his post-game statements, he said he knew when they found out Steph wasn't playing. And Mo, this one bites, right? This one cuts a little bit to the competitive core of a guy. He said he knew when Steph was out that Draymond was going to try to get ejected. I mean, it's gotten kind of predictable to I wouldn't go that far, but it's gotten predictable with him.
So go ahead, Seth.
No, the thing that makes me think of is we've sort of had some fun over the years about sort of the invisibility cloak that Draymond has once he gets a first technical. So getting that second yellow card is something that is proven difficult for him. So he just made sure he got straight red. That's what that makes me think.
2 minutes into the game,
yeah.
I don't
like broken a sweat.
I'm not okay. So like one for starters, I'm not buying that from Rudy. Okay, I think that's just Rudy being Rudy and stuff like that, and that's the kind of stuff that Rudy says that annoys everybody around the league about. Rudy
but I'm here
Gobert.
for it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But like, I'm not because I think first off, there's plenty enough
That's why you got
about Draymond. But like, there's a lot of like Rudy's obviously not loved by a lot of people in the league. A lot of guys don't like him. I mean, to put it this way, before they were teammates, Anthony Edwards talked about he was more afraid of Kristaps Porzingis when he drove to the paint than Rudy Gobert. Like, there's a level of respect that Rudy commands and doesn't command, and this is the kind of stuff that leads to him not getting the dumbass comments like that. Just shut up. It's over and done with, just in that regard. Okay, but let's go to Draymond, because this is the thing where it's just like, I'm just tired. I'm tired of this. Like, okay, he derails this game. This is 2 games after he got kicked out with Donovan Mitchell, which I think was a questionable one. We can argue that one a little bit in terms of how the refs handled that. But then it's like, okay, last year you stomped on Domantas Sabonis, gets suspended in a playoff game. You ruined the whole season for the Warriors by punching Jordan Poole. We have just so many data points. The fight with Kevin Durant at the Clipper game, that really carried over throughout most of that year. You have the entire playoff series where he pretty much kicked every player in the nuts he went up against, and then eventually gets suspended and costing the Warriors a championship. Like, he's a veteran. He's really solid at everything and all those things. But man, when's enough going to be enough? And when is he just going to just play, dog? Like, we know you're the toughest dude in the NBA. We get it, like all this stuff. And we can, if we want to go and just zoom in on this and go, he was defending Klay and all of that stuff. Okay, whatever. But his history shows that he just jumps in when he can. And I think I'm just tired of it. And it's at this point, like, I love him as a player, but I'm just tired of this whole thing from him. Like, it derails what has a chance to be good games.
He's cost him playoff games. He's cost him finals games. And now he's cost him an in-season tournament game. I mean, this is just, when will it stop, Seth? It's at a certain point. I mean, they lose their 4th straight. They're without Steph already, right? And he gets ejected early. So him and Klay. So they lose their 4th straight. And the Warriors, they don't have this like huge margin for error. It's still built on Steph Curry is one of the 2 or 3 best players on the planet, and we all maximize ourselves around him. And so you were going to struggle without him there anyway. But it was still a home game, and the Timberwolves were hot coming in, having won 6 straight. You would think he'd be fired up to try to win that game. But instead, he gets ejected and they lose their 4th straight.
I'm a little of 2 minds here, just because I think Mo went through the history of it. and it's obviously someone who is a habitual line stepper to the point where the line sort of has moved for him. It seems like at times. At the same time, though, there's a lot of guys in a lot of different ways where sometimes there's some downside to the upside of what they give you, and so I don't want to. Yes, I think that he should curtail kind of the roughest edges of this, but for the Warriors' success, that sort of ferocity and intensity was a key part. And so it's like calibrating that. Which way would you rather miss? Would you rather not be intense enough, or too clearly he's going too far? But how much of this is just is sort of table stakes of this is the upside of what he gives you, we know, and this is the downside. And yeah, we can criticize that, but it's not a terribly dissimilar criticism to I wish he passed more, I wish he defended better, like those kind of things. It's sort of just it's an imperfection of him as a player.
I don't like that, Seth. I'm tired of this being the cop out of like, yo, KG was wildly intense in that sense that we never got this. Like, this is who Draymond Green is, and we understand that, but like we've gotten to the point now where it's like you're actively hurting your team. And you've done it over and over again. And you've just not, like, if you really are this uncontrollable, which I don't think he is. Right. I just think this is just, I think he, it's not, to me, it's not a coincidence that he jumped in on Rudy Gobert. Now, like, if we talk about this specific play, Gobert goes in and he's trying to pull Klay Thompson off of Jaden McDaniels. Draymond goes in defense of his teammate and jumps in and then puts him in a chokehold. Like, yo, like that's not at a certain point, it's not cool. But this is a dude who he's made fun of for crying for not getting an all-star vote. They compete against each other all the time for defensive player of the year. They both are always kind of chippy with each other and things like that, and so on. So it's not like an accident to me. It's like, oh, Rudy's going into that, ain't happening. And
it was an opportunity.
I don't even know if it was just an opportunity. It was a reaction, and then he saw it was Rudy, and he's like, I'm going in, I'm getting Rudy out of there, and that's it. But like, it's I'm just tired of this bullshit, man.
Yeah, I get it. I don't disagree with any of that. I'm just it is.
But if that's what the Warriors need to keep them going and being intense and all of that stuff, that's a problem for the Warriors.
Yep.
Right.
No, I agree.
I actually think that with Draymond, this is a little bit more like you remember how Jokic used to get the frustration fouls all the time? He'd get a turnover. He felt like he would foul. He would immediately foul.
Karate chopped Cameron Payne.
Yeah. It's an impulse thing, right? Like it's a controlling the impulse and not going too far. And by this point in his career, you would think that Draymond would have kind of mastered that. And I would argue, he gets better as the season goes on. And I think he is better in the playoffs than in the especially early parts of the regular season. But I don't know, man, this is pretty bad. And I think remember, Joe Dumars already kind of came out this morning and said, hey, we have to look at the history with Draymond Green when we start thinking about the suspension and all of the things that you brought up, Mo, where, they're constantly sniping back and forth with him and Rudy. He's talking about Rudy all the time and on his podcast. And now, all that stuff might come back to bite him and the Warriors. Because, look, the Warriors I still think that they're a contender, but they haven't looked good. This is a bad time for this stuff to be happening for them.
The problem for them is if he gets a 10-game suspension, this is a team that's already small. Like they're going to really struggle. And then I'm just throwing out 10 games, just whatever.
Sure.
It's going to put them so far behind. And in a stacked West, like that's really difficult. And I think the situation for them, like this is going to cost them a hole that they're going to have to dig themselves out of for the entire season. And that assumes everything else goes right. Because we got to be concerned about Curry all of a sudden having knee soreness. Mm-hmm. Chris Paul's no spring chicken. Klay Thompson's not any younger. Like that's assuming everything goes perfectly here on out. And I just think like he's just putting them in a hole. He's just added more problem. He threw a 10-pound weight on their backs.
Yeah.
20-pound weight, whatever. I don't know.
In their backpack. Well, luckily they have Brandon Podziemski, so I think they're going to be okay. He was great.